Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning. Maneco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So we're just a little 30 seconds to the stock market close. The Dow is down 40 points, S&P down 2. So it hasn't really been much of a day for the markets. If anything, it looks like it's going to close in the red here. Gold and silver have held quite steady. Big move today for the British pound. It's up over 1%. Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone here. I was going to make a live stream last Sunday, but we had some friends over and they stayed longer on Sunday. So that's why I did not do the live stream. I apologize if some of you saw, because I put it on early. And I thought they'd be gone by then. So anyway. Hi, S. Walker, moderator. Hi, Laura. Hi, Kaz. Hi, Paul from Toronto. Billy's here as well. Say hi, Billy. He's probably asleep. Camel Pochapak. Hi, Camel. Palladium going steady up. Yeah, I haven't really followed Palladium much, but I follow more gold and silver, but I do realize palladium, of course, and platinum are precious metals. Lorraine Weymouth from Jurassic Coast. Bajender Gill or Jill from Birmingham. Hi, Pat. Nice to see you. Flame Tongu from Poland. Me, Tolan from Finland. Nice to see people from all around the world. Yeah, I haven't really got a topic in particular. I just thought it would be nice to have a chat, take questions from people, and maybe talk about a few things. Timothy Hardesty, Alaska. Dumfries, Scotland. The snowflake blender. Yeah, talking about snow, we've had a really nice last few days here in London. Yesterday, for example, I played some golf in the afternoon and I didn't even need my sweater or jumper. Today was warm again, and tomorrow is supposed to be quite warm again, but after that it's going to get colder. What cryptos, Chung Cheng asked, what cryptos do I own? Well, I have some Bitcoin, not that much. I have I have EOS. That's my biggest holding, really. And I have a lot of EOS blockchain tokens as well. The other day, I also received something called Telos, which is a sister blockchain of EOS. I do have some of the Bankster token, which is Ripple, just not that much, just in case that really goes up. And I have some Ethereum and some Litecoin, but that could change, of course. But EOS is the one I'm focusing on. I have 45 different tokens that I've received, airdropped, just because I did have EOS at the Genesis or mainnet launch. I didn't trade it. PH2, printing money versus bonds versus inflation. Havix Horst from Amsterdam in Holland. Nice to see you. Yeah, PH2. The classical definition of inflation is money created out of thin air. So we've got loads of it. What's happened in the last 30 years or 25 years is that the powers that be have manipulated people's perception. They've kind of, and they've kind of killed trade unions, because trade unions used to represent workers. When inflation was going up, they could negotiate and get wage increases. But nowadays, we're told that higher wages produce inflation, and I think that's totally bogus. But they've been able to keep the inflation numbers that they call CPI manipulated and tell people that we have no inflation. But the inflation is in the stock market, in the paper assets. And that's why the 1% is doing so well, because their assets are being hyperinflated. But eventually it will destroy their current, the currency. When it goes into real things, that's when we will see really the consequence of inflation. Flame Tongu, is Brexit happening? How's it going in the UK? Well, the UK is doing great. I mean, I think there's too much scaremongering about Brexit. I don't think it really matters if we're in Europe or out of Europe. I'm sure, I know people voted to get out, and that we should get out. But right now, the pound has gone up over 1% today, because it looks like, the UK really has up till today had two choices: leave with a deal on the 29th of March, or leave with no deal. Those were the two choices. But it looks like now Prime Minister May and the Labour opposition, they're thinking of delaying Brexit. So that's not a good sign, because if you delay Brexit, your bargaining power with the EU gets really low. And but I think that was their goal all along, because Theresa May was a Remainer. They're doing all they can to make it difficult for this country to leave the EU. We've seen with other countries like Ireland, and even in Holland, I think they had referenda before, and they didn't vote. The people didn't vote how they're supposed to vote, and they just said, "Oh, we want you have to vote again until we get the vote we want." And I'm afraid that might happen here in the UK, but I think there could be a lot to answer for the politicians. I think the public might get angry. We'll see. What percentage of gold do you hold? What do you mean, percentage of what, Labuk? I mean, if you mean of my savings, it's a pretty high percentage, and I have some silver as well. But yeah, I mean, the house I live in is all paid for as well, so that's bricks and mortar that I have. I would say that's my biggest right now, where my value is housed. That's my biggest asset. But after that, liquid assets, yeah, gold, silver. I would say gold, crypto and silver are similar. And then I do keep some Bank of England notes in the bank, for expenses, a minimum. Yeah, but let's say, Labuk, if you had $100,000 or pounds uh, that you didn't need to spend, that you'd saved, I would keep the bulk of, I would keep like 90% of that in gold and silver, and the rest maybe in the bank. That's me personally. You have to decide it for yourself. Lorraine Weymouth, when Comex loses control and physical breaks free, how long do you think it will take before they gain control? Well, the last time that happened was in 1980 with the Hunt brothers in silver. It could take a while. Who knows? But who knows? Or they might not never come back, Comex, which would be a good thing. Paul Harlock, you've talked about gold Dow ratio, Dow gold ratio. What caused the Dow gold ratio to swing from one extreme to another in the past? Well, basically, it's just the credit cycle. Sorry, Paul. Yeah, Paul, it's the credit cycle. So, usually when the Dow gold ratio is very high, which means that you need a lot of ounces of gold to buy one Dow, that means that paper assets are overvalued against tangible assets represented by gold. And that's when, you know, the credit market tops and there's a credit contraction. That's what happened in 1929, the Great Depression. Then when you hit the depths of the Great Depression, the bottom, that ratio usually goes to 1 to 1. That means that things have been reset, that you only need an ounce of gold to buy 1 Dow. I think before the crash in 29, we got to around 20 ounces, and then it got down to 2 in 1966. We got up to 25, and then we went down to 1 in 1980, and we've been as high as 43 or 45 in 2000. Right now, we're around 20, I think. But we've been down to 7 in 2011. But I personally think it's still going further down towards 1. And that will mean that, you know, the credit cycle has bottomed. You know, when we're down at 1 to 1, things will be really difficult in the economy. And that's when, you know, if you have gold, if you're lucky to have gold at that juncture, that's when you start going back into the paper assets, and that's when the credit cycle starts again. So that's the Dow gold ratio there. Hopefully that helped, Paul. Hi Anonymous, nice to see you. The Snowflake Myra, could you do a video discussing Say's law as per the latest Mises? Yeah, I'll have a look at that. I hadn't looked at that. What happened to the inquiry into JP Morgan silver market control? I haven't looked. Well, that was dropped years ago, Monte, the JP Morgan silver investigation. Bertium Alain from Montreal, nice to see you. Crypto Pirate, we all become millionaires like Zimbabwe. Law, we have stagflation in Australia. Heard some unbelievable news. John of God from Brazil. Sorry, I'm not, haven't heard about that. I don't even know that story. Does it matter if national debt is more than GDP? After all, an individual gets into debt many times. Yeah, well, you know, Italy and Japan have been over 100% of GDP for decades, so it hasn't mattered. It only matters if interest rates start going up very sharply. Right now, you know, even in Italy, interest rates are very low, lower than in the States, and in Japan, they're near zero. That's the whole thing, if they're able to keep interest rates under control. Hi, The Watcher, nice to see you. Is there leverage for bonds, treasuries, or credit? Of course, there's leverage. That's the whole. That's how they keep it going. It's called the derivatives market. They control the underlying market through the derivatives, and the derivatives are highly leveraged. So, for example, in the gold future, you can control 100 ounces of gold, which is the futures contract, with about $5,000. So, and the same thing for the bond futures, interest rate futures, they're all leveraged. The Watcher, do you think a Brexit extension is on the cards? I think it is giving them more time to try and stop it. Yeah, it is on the cards, but you never know. You could have a no deal as well. I think, you know, I heard someone say that if you delay the Brexit, the exit or leaving the EU negotiators are going to have the upper hand. So it's not looking good for those people who voted to leave. Do you think, J000114, do you think that the palladium manipulation could be spotlight that opens the door to the manipulation of the other metals? I'm not sure what you mean by the palladium manipulation. I mean, gold and silver have been manipulated for decades already. So, but I heard palladium is actually going up. Hi, Ben Gray. Nice to see you. Ibrahim Magdi Abu Bakar from Egypt. Hello. Hi, Jazz. I have read The Lords of Finance by Leah Kat Ahmed. Yeah, I read it about 3 years ago. Uh, it's a good book. It's mostly about the central bankers in the 20s and 30s. It just shows you how they work together, and they still do. I think, I've been watching some videos on YouTube about Venice, and I have read a book about Venice that I've talked about. And I think a lot of the banking practices we have evolved from Venice and the Italian city states. And I think, though, not, I think the the central banks are, we think a lot of the Rothschilds and Rockefeller, but I think there's a lot more people behind it that we don't even know. Some very ancient families, probably from Italy and other parts of Europe. Omar from Los Angeles, spot silver price in next 8 months. Omar, I don't make predictions like short-term predictions. I think longer term, it's the good place to, it doesn't really, gold and silver will hold their value and they will protect your purchasing power. I'm not sure, I thought gold, silver, excuse me, I thought silver might be over 18 by now, and it's not, because in end of November I bought an 18 call that expired I think yesterday. But the bullion banks and the central banks, they have a lot of control of these markets. They're still controlling it. They don't want to see it run away from them. So today, let's have a look here. PEH2, why do so many people worry about the environment and it going away in the future when they don't worry about economy with all the debt? Yeah, it's a distraction, PEH2, I agree. The other thing I've talked about as well is the fiat money system, where money can be created willy-nilly, increases consumption, increases production that should not be there, and that's not good for the environment either. So if we went back to a sound money system, I think it would be better for the environment. Anonymous guy called. Yeah, I'm not sure why you were talking about this, Anonymous. I don't cover this kind of news. I try to focus more on the economy, on money, on metals, and the debt. And to be honest, I'm originally from Brazil, but I don't really follow too much of what's going on there, just in a broad sense. Ibrahim says, JP Morgan still hoarding silver. What's going on with that? Well, I've said that in the past. I'm not sure where they get this information that they're holding actually physical silver, but I know that they have a lot of positions in futures. And having worked as a futures broker for banks and brokerages, I can tell you that JP Morgan is the biggest futures clearer. They have huge accounts in the futures markets. So a lot of it could be held for clients. So I'm not in Brazil, Anonymous. I live in London. I grew up in Brazil. I haven't lived there for over 30 years. Yes, Laura, the Italian bloodline bankers, old families. I think, there's more of a chance of them being behind everything than actually, and I would say that maybe they are, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers' bosses actually, and we don't even know who they are. Ben Gray, Mary, if the market crashes in the US, how quickly will the ripple effect be over here? You mean in the UK, Ben? I think you were in the UK. Well, it would be instant. You know, if there's a crash in the US tomorrow, the whole world will crash. Yeah, Laura Orsini, Aldobrandini, Contarini, you know, the Venetians, there's loads of them. And these people are very powerful, I think. They're very low key as well. Dow, 186,000. Sorry, gold, 186,000, Dow, 5,000. Wow, yeah, that would completely go through one, the Dow gold ratio there. Yeah, that's right, Anonymous. I've seen those videos. It's quite interesting. And I think it's more also the scheme, the mechanism for that has come from Venice. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, I saw that the chairman of the Federal Reserve was testifying today to Congress, and he basically said that they're going to keep rates low. They're not going to hike very quickly, but that didn't seem to really help the markets that much. Let's see where the Dow, I think, yeah, finished down about 34 points. S&P down 3 points, and Nasdaq down about 5. So I've also looked at the chart of the S&P, and it looks like we've formed a quadruple top in the S&P. I think the key level to keep an eye on is 2815. Mary Jo asks, have you read The Financial Vipers of Venice by Joseph P. Farrell? I haven't read that one. I've read some of his other books, like I've got them here on my shelf. Nazi International by Joseph P. Farrell. He's got some interesting stuff, but I might have to look at that one. Yeah, over here I can see that, you know, we do still have to use fiat money to pay our bills, and we are paid in fiat money as well for our jobs. You know, for whatever business you're in, your income. I guess the trick is trying to save as much as possible of that and maybe, you know, also convert it to real money, you know, to physical gold and silver. I think he testified today as well. Powell. I think he was, where is it, to the Senate today? I'm not sure. Well, I saw a headline in one of the web online that he was testifying today. Let's have a look. Yeah, Powell says Fed is in no rush to make judgment on policy changes. Let's see. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said a healthy U.S. economy has faced some cross currents and conflicting signals that officials in January decided warranted taking a patient approach to future interest rate changes. So he was talking to the Senate Banking Committee. Tomorrow he's going to speak to the House. He'll probably say the same things tomorrow to the House. Sometimes I think he starts the testimony in the House and does the Senate the next day. So this time he's done the Senate. Yeah, I mean Comex. Yeah, they work very closely with the regulators, the U.S. Treasury. So, and the gold futures contract on Comex is basically a paper contract. It is deliverable, but very rarely people deliver or ask for delivery. The brokers and the banks that have memberships on Comex, they completely discourage clients and customers from taking delivery. Comex gold futures is more a way to speculate on the price. So it's not really a gold market, Comex. And that's why they haven't had problems, even though they're highly leveraged. And they might not have problems because they basically, people are, if you had billions of dollars, let's say Bill Gates or Bezos decided together to take a huge amount of delivery of gold and silver from Comex, they'd be finished. Even though they're, one of the two richest men in the world, they'd be finished. They'd be out like that, just like the Hunt brothers, back in 1980. So that's why they've been able to keep Comex from, even though we know it's a fraud. Uh, it's part of the game. Laura says it's interesting. You mentioned interests are low in the Western countries. We have high interest as 6% in Eastern countries. Believe that's another. It is another manipulation because the major central banks, the Bank for International Settlements, they manipulate what they call the hard currencies. Uh, you countries like Russia and the countries in Eastern Europe, they have a lot less debt than the UK and the US, and their interest rates are like 6%. It doesn't make sense. So it's totally manipulated, the interest rates we have here in the UK, in the US, in Italy, in the Eurozone. Ben Gray is in Cardiff. I've been watching Martin North a lot lately about Aussie housing downturn. Do you think that will affect us in any way at all? Um, oh, thank you, Ben. I think interest rates here in the UK are still really low, but affordability is getting harder and harder. I think, even without interest rates going up, because people's transport costs are going up. Their bills, utility bills are going up. You know, prices of things like uh, alcohol and tobacco, and like it or not, a lot of people still drink and smoke. So everything's getting more expensive, and I think there could be a tipping point. But yeah, there Australia, yeah, it could be. It could be like a signal that the housing market here will slow down as well. Today we had also some really bad housing data from the U.S. We had housing starts in the U.S. that dropped 11% in December, 11.2% in December. It was expected to drop 0.5%. So that was very weak. So some of the U.S. housing numbers are not looking great at all either. Anonymous, how do people make money in credit markets opposed to equities? Well, by credit markets, they just mean bond markets. Bond markets are usually more used by big investors, professional investors. There's a couple of ways to make money in bond markets. You can buy for capital appreciation. If you think the price of a bond is too low, you buy it just to make money on the price, or you buy it to have an income. If a bond gives you a yield of 5%, for over 10 years, you buy that and you just buy it for income. Um, there's other ways to play the credit markets. For example, government bonds are usually the best rated, the safest bonds in the credit markets. And then you have corporate bonds. And what the professional investors do and players is if they think corporate bonds are undervalued in relation to government bonds, they'll buy the corporates and sell the government bonds. It's called spread trading. There's loads of ways to trade the credit market, but you don't own the companies that you buy the bonds of. You're lending money to them. While in the stock market, you buy a share of the company. That's the main difference between the credit market and the stock market, or bond market and stock market. In the bond market, you're lending money to a company or a government, and in the stock market, you're buying a share of that company. Anonymous, America's spending its money on corrupt healthcare. Well, yeah, I think, the West, you go back 120 years, I think government throughout the West was only about 5% of GDP. Now we're like 40 to 50%. It's not only the US. Lucas, tough question, I know, but do you have any thoughts on Tommy Robinson, his recent deplatformation on Facebook? No worries if you don't follow news on him. You're just keeping this. It's funny, Lucas, because I have followed Tommy Robinson in the past. The last 6-9 months, I haven't really looked at Tommy Robinson, but it's funny you should ask that. I was just watching his latest YouTube video called Panodrama. Yeah, and I saw that he's been, banned from Facebook and Instagram. I don't agree with everything Tommy Robinson talks about, but yeah, I think he's been censored. Of course, they don't. The establishment doesn't like him. And that's why I could become more political, and I do have a lot of political views views about politics. Personally, I'm not really political because I think it's a waste of time. But I can see how the powers that be are trying to divide people to keep them from looking at the real problem. That's another thing I wanted to say, one of Ron Paul's saying is that half of every transaction that we make in our lives, market transaction, half of everything that we do, buy or sell, half of it is money. And the rest, of course, is a product, all different products. So money is so important. And that's why I try to focus on that. And because I think if I start going on about, the Zionists or the left, the right, all that, and it just gets me nowhere. It just gets me in trouble. Not that I'm scared to talk about these things, but I think it's better for me to focus on what I think is really important. Because if we learn about how fraudulent and corrupt our monetary system is, we can fight these people who are trying to divide us. So even though I agree, there is a lot that they're doing to shut Tommy Robinson down, a lot of times I think they're inciting these people, left and right, white versus black, Christians versus Muslims, US versus Venezuela. It's all too much, I think. But yeah, I actually haven't finished watching that Panodrama. It's over an hour, but it's very interesting. Tom, I think I saw someone here say Susan Chappell. Hi, Susan from Texas. Uh, Tom Seward. A lot of YouTubers are saying the ultimate economic crash is imminent. Do you agree with that? Well, that's, people have been calling for a crash. There will be a crash, of course, because in this fiat money system we've had, and even before, the Fed was formed in 1913, there were, there were financial crises. They didn't last as long as they do now, and they weren't as pronounced. So it's the nature of our monetary system and our credit system that there will be crisis. It's just very difficult to tell when. Bo Pony has been calling for a huge stock market crash in February, and it hasn't happened. So um, I just know that yeah, I just don't. I'm not going to say, oh, March 15th, we're going to have a, Ides of March. I could make a video, March 15th, Ides of March, watch for the collapse. But I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know. Maneco, so I hope that answers your question about the YouTube people calling for anonymous. What directly affects bond markets and commodity markets? Well, bond markets, basically interest rates. If money is easy, uh, if money is plentiful, that means interest rates are low. If people are confident in lending, that means the bond market will do well, and vice versa. Commodities, I think it depends more on the strength of the economy as well. It also could depend if there's a lot of inflation. If the currency is going down a lot, commodities will go up. BBC, British bullshitting corporation, or British brainwashing corporation. BBC. Over here, is there anyone out there that likes an up and coming politician in America who makes sense and that is practical? Well, there's only one, but he's not up and coming. He's retired. Ron Paul, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree with the state and local economies over here. I agree with you that they're also important. Samantha Jane says, if you hit the refresh button, you can watch another 5-second commercial to show your appreciation to Mario. I agree, Mario. You have to keep it neutral because you do not want to alienate anyone. That's right, and I don't think I think looking for divisions and like blaming certain factions. That's what they want, so that they can shut you up. But if I just talk about the facts of the system, uh, it's all facts. It's all out there. Of course, sometimes I've talked about the last few weeks about Venezuela, how I think President Trump he's letting me down because I thought he was supposed to be a good guy, but he's hiring neocons. He's like pushing around another sovereign nation just because they have the oil. And if you don't believe me, Trump said, I think in 2017, and that's a book by McCabe. He's come out with a book saying that Trump told him that Venezuela would be a good country to take over because they have a lot of oil. So that's disappointed me. So I will talk about these things sometime. Anonymous says, I love Trump. Hopefully he fixes the corrupt world medical guidelines. Well, he should. that's the problem I have. He's acting in a corrupt way, in my opinion, in international relations by going after a sovereign country like Venezuela. Um, the medical guidelines, yeah, that's another. There's so many, it's not just the banks that are the banking system that's screwed up, also the medical pharmaceuticals screwed up. I'm aware of that as well, and the vaccines. LTCR, let the commercials run. Thank you, Rumpelstiltskin. Tim Jones, I will not watch BBC anymore. After all, the Brexit brainwashing echo after the crash. Do you think the pound will be destroyed? Will have gradual stagnation like Japan? That's what Tim. That's about the BBC, Tim. I don't watch TV anymore. The only thing I watch sometimes is Netflix, and even that's getting a little bit biased. But and I watch a couple of golf tournaments a year, the big ones. And what I'll do is I'll buy. There's something called Now TV, so I can buy the week on Sky to watch the Masters. But I don't subscribe to Sky. That's all I do. So I don't watch the BBC anymore. I don't read papers. Sometimes I do see things online. I can't completely turn off. But yeah, about Japan, Tim. Most people in the city, a lot of the economists, and I know this because I still speak to people there. They seem to think that we're gonna, the UK, the West in general, is gonna go Japan's way. It's just gonna be this dragging and dragging, kicking the can down the road that will be able to cope with it for decades. I hope they're wrong. The pound and all the other fiat currencies, Tim, I think they're going to keep going lower. There's no other way because we got so much debt. So they got to make the debt be worth much less. So that's why I still recommend precious metals. I know it's frustrating because they control the price, but in the long run, it's the place to be still. But yeah, the pound will keep going down, probably against the dollar, but uh, mainly against precious metals, because all the countries that use fiat money, all their currencies are really no good. Who owns the Fed? Who owns the U.S.? KVJ, is the U.S. empire the problem? Petrodollars rule the U.S. policy. Yeah, I don't even, I think the empire is the empire of the bankers. And it's mainly centered, I would say, in New York and London. Some people say that New York, well, Washington, D.C. runs the defense. I would say the city of London and New York run the finance, and the Vatican run the spiritual side. Trump is a puppet. All presidents are puppet. I agree. I've come to that conclusion, and I saw. I don't know if you guys know True News, TRU News. It's a YouTube channel, and I was watching that the other day. I think his name is Rick Wiles. The guy he's down in Vero Beach, Florida, which is a place I know quite well, Vero Beach, in the States. And he was saying that the U.S. is run by the mafia groups. There's there's the Jewish mafia, there's the Bush mafia, and there's maybe, I don't know, the Irish mafia. And he said that the Jewish mafia is taken over, and that Trump is the Jewish mafia's boy. So, and I don't disagree with him on that. So I personally, maybe I'll lose viewers and subscribers to say this, but I think this Q thing is just a bit of a a hoax to keep people's hope. And that's why I try not to really get involved in politics. We need to look after ourselves, you know, do the best for ourselves and our families. That's all we can do. Yeah, we can't be hoping for governments and presidents to do things for us. As JFK said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. But I would add what you can do for you and your family as well. Because your country, you know, if you do the right thing for yourself and your family, indirectly you're going to be a good citizen. So that's my opinion. Brian Kendall, Bitcoin. Yeah, Brian. I mean, Bitcoin, the cryptocurrencies, were doing very well up until, and they're still doing well now, don't get me wrong. But I think they got a little bit, how can I say, they got a little too frothy. And on Sunday afternoon, London time, they turned around and crashed quite, you know, double digit in percentage wise. But I noticed Bitcoin got to around 4,200, and that's still that's a big resistance. So it's very technical. But I think you need to be patient with the cryptocurrencies. I even saw that Warren Buffett said that he doesn't think there's much value in Bitcoin, but there's value to the blockchain, and I agree with that on the second. I'm not too sure I agree with him that there's no value to Bitcoin. Don't forget, I remember in the 90s when with the dot-com bubble, he said I would never get involved with these internet stocks. They're worthless. And I don't think he got involved in Amazon, and that was a mistake. So he's not always right, Warren Buffett. Pedro Q, cryptocurrencies, safe, secure for the long term. Some of them will be, and very profitable, as I would say, but you got to do your homework, not only about the coins and the projects, but you got to do your homework on how to keep them in your private wallet, because that's really important as well. Laura, the bankers are internationally centered, think ruling from the BIS in City of London. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the BIS is basically, it was founded by Norman Montague, who was the governor of the Bank of England at the time in 1930, and Hjalmar Schacht, who was the president of the Reichsbank in 1930, the German central bank. I think the BIS is run by the same people we were talking about earlier, Laura. The people, you know, because if you look at Venice, I've read this book on Venice. These families, you look at the Doges of Venice, they started out in 800, and you look at some of their family names, some people, you find the same family name in like 1100 and then in 1750. So these families, they've been around for, if not hundreds of years, even 1,000 years. So I think they're very powerful. I think they're the people behind the BIS. But we never hear of them. I don't think these people even go to the Davos or Bilderberg. They stay completely. The people who go to these places, they work for these people, I think. The name of the book, let's see, where's my Venice book? Oh, here it is. It's this one here, The Spirit of Venice. Paul Strathern, there you go. That's the book. But, you know, this book doesn't really talk too much about the financial aspect and what we're talking about, but it's amazing, you know, a lot of the stuff that we have nowadays was started in Venice. Things like gambling, casino is a word from Venice. even the news and the media. The word gazette is originally from Venice. Shipbuilding, even arsenal. That's a word from Venice. That's where the Venetians built their navies. It was called the Arsenal of Venice, and they actually invented. Most people think that the Industrial Revolution happened in 1700s, 1800s, but the Venetians were using like the how can I say, the division of labor and stuff back in the 1200s. They used to be able to build one ship in one day because they had the what's the word, Henry Ford. A lot of people say it was Henry Ford who invented the assembly line. The Venetians, they used the assembly line to build their huge navies that controlled the Mediterranean. So it's very, very interesting book. And there's loads about the Venetians on YouTube. I think Webster Tarpley, I'll write his name. He's done a lot of studies about Venice. Very anti-Venice he is. But yeah, I mean, you could be critical, very critical about the Venetians, but they've done a lot of things as well. The trading, the commerce, it's not all bad, I would say, because, for example, they financed the Spanish, navigators to, that went to the New World. Christopher Columbus, financed by the people in Genoa as well. The Venetians and the Italian city-states financed a lot of other, navigators, and so we wouldn't maybe have the United States, the colonies, if it wasn't for all that financing. But do I agree with the monetary system presently? No. Hopefully, cryptocurrencies and the blockchain might change that. The black nobility, yeah, Laura, the Estelin. The other thing Samantha is talking about, Matteo Di Fori, my friend from Germany, says the police are with the German people, or they'll hang by the light pole. Do the Italians have that situation too, unlike the French bad police? I don't know. I mean, I haven't really lived in Italy. I've been there for work. I do have Italian passport. I would say they would probably be more with the people than the politicians in Italy. But I saw a video today. It's a YouTube channel called Central Intelligence Agency, which is a funny name. And it's a Swiss guy, and he speaks English, and he's in France. And the Gilets jaunes are still protesting. I think it's for real. So we need to keep an eye on that. I know that the mainstream media has been not covering the yellow vests, but it's still there. Sanjit says UK is a nation of shopkeepers, but shops are nowadays closing down because people don't have disposable income to spend. Yeah, that's true, and also I think the business rates don't help the small shops. I think Amazon as well. They pay no tax and they're offshore. They're killing the shops. But I think that thing about UK being a nation of shopkeepers, that was Napoleon who said that, and they translated into shopkeepers. But I think what Napoleon meant is that England was a nation of merchants, trading like from country to country. But that applies as well, shopkeepers, I guess. Yeah, I walked down to to the I went to Starbucks today to have a coffee, and I usually put a little bit of cinnamon. They have at Starbucks the little glass things with chocolate, cinnamon, and it wasn't there. And I asked the lady, and she said, "Oh, someone stole it." And she said, "People are stealing a lot of things." I said, "What do you mean?" Well, they're stealing toilet rolls from the toilets at Starbucks. They're stealing mugs. So things are not great if people have to steal toilet rolls from Starbucks. Yes, Anonymous, Sean Ross, that's right. He has two YouTube channels, Shot Frats. He also has Central Intelligence Agency. Yeah, Ben, I've noticed RT, they cover every weekend, the Yellow Vests. Luke Radowski covers it as well, wearechange.org, or We Are Change on YouTube. Suck Media, yes, about Brexit. Uh, he says, Suck Media says, Brexit. I can't see Brexit having that massive of an effect on day-to-day business. Property will not go down. In fact, I see it going higher. The other thing as well, I don't think Brexit will have, it won't make government smaller in this country. It won't cut down the size of government. I guess we'll have one less layer, which is Brussels. But I think the government in this country is already too big as well. I'd like to see that shrink. As says corner stores or corner shops around here, almost all gone, turned into rental units. Yeah, I saw today in town quite a lot of. I saw one restaurant shut down. There's a lot of shops that are boarded up. Yeah, there's too many regulations as well. And that is, and and I think the regulations are part of it's the big corporations. They can survive under regulation, and I think they're the ones who push all these regulations because it kills off the small business, mom and pop business, and that's really unfortunate because the small businesses historically are the ones that create the most jobs. Even though, let's say, a small business might create 10 jobs, but if you got thousands of those, because big corporations usually they tend to cut jobs. Yeah, Ben, I do look. I do like Luke's channel as well, and I like the other guy with him, Jason Burmis. I think Jason Burmis was one of the first alternative YouTube channels I listened to because he made a documentary about 9/11 many years ago, before even YouTube was around. I think was that big. Jason Burmis. All right, guys, I'll take a couple of more questions. Um, we're almost up to an hour here. I'm gonna call it a day. An hour is enough, I think. I'd like to thank, before I go, everyone for showing up and participating in the live stream. Uh, Vbjorn Gritton, do you think it's likely that Yellow Vest movement can come to London? Maybe it won't be called Yellow Vest, but it could be something to do with Brexit, especially with the fact that they might delay it now. So people might get angry. But I would say the protests in the UK for Brexit would be more outside London, because London really, the great majority of people in London voted to stay in the EU. So I would think it would be more all around the UK. Hey, Billy, wake up. Billy. Billy. Say hi. Well, he's gone. Basel 3 gold tier 1 rules. Is that the rule that says that gold will be like considered a safe asset 100%? That would be good, of course. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for participating. Richard Jones, just this is the last question here. Any plans to do any more interviews on your channel? Really enjoyed the one you did a few months ago with one of your associates from when you worked in the city. Yeah, I will do interviews in the future. To be honest, I prefer just doing my videos. It's just my nature, but yeah, I will do more interviews. I will probably be doing an interview with people from Glint. I know I haven't spoken about Glint too much because they're still setting up in the U.S. Glint, of course, is the credit card or debit card that will allow you to spend gold. I'm already doing it myself here in the UK, but it hasn't come out in the US yet, the card, but it will. It will be coming out. I can't tell you when, but it will be soon. The other day, I spent a little bit of gold to buy a coffee. It was only 0.08 of a gram. Yeah, that's right, VJ. KV, sorry, not VJ. KVJ, would you like to interview Godfrey Bloom? I would actually. I do like Godfrey Bloom. I've listened to him. He's a sound money guy. Yeah, let me know. Yeah, just I would be interested. Okay, everyone. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'll be making my usual video tomorrow morning. What's your email address, KeyVJ? Can you? I need your email address so I can send you that. If you could write that down. You're welcome, Brian. You're welcome, Anonymous. I'm waiting for KeyVJ email. You're welcome, Pablo. Billy is breathing. He snores a bit. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.